Justin Bieber has become a superstar, but his rise to the top, as we know as of late, has not been an easy one. He had to endure torture to get there, but this was not always known. Today we're going to be looking at a perspective of someone who felt his rise to the top was a bit of a gift versus the battle that he had to endure. Let's dive in and compare with what we currently know today, the thoughts we're about to see. And I'm curious what you guys are gonna think about this one.
Justin Bieber is probably the last person on earth you feel bad for. The blonde-haired, blue-eyed tween made a few YouTube videos singing in 2007, got swooped up by the major record labels, and they forced his generic pop songs onto us. Then every young girl in the world became obsessed with him, making him millions of dollars and keeping his songs in rotation on the radio. He was an easy person to hate, or just completely disregard. However, in the early 2010s, he started to change. He was lashing out in public, assaulting people, and starting to confirm people's suspicions of him being a snobby rich brat. And although this video is not going to be me trying to convince you that Justin Bieber is an unproblematic saint, there is another perspective to consider that might make his antics a little understandable.
Now we have to understand that when someone is a child star, they're basically being raised by Hollywood or by the music industry. And as of late, because of the Epstein files and evil Hollywood, we understand now what's going on with these children that are going through that system. They are all enduring things that children should not have to endure. Justin Bieber, confirmed, is a prime example of that. So it makes us understand a little bit more about him outlashing at communities and just being a bit more of a menace in society because of all the mental strain he had to endure to get himself to the top.
For example, the many times he was blatantly assaulted or harassed in public.
Can I say this? Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
It isn't very difficult to see how uncomfortable Justin is. James Corden is leaning in as close as he possibly can with his hand resting on Justin's back.
Thank you so much. Look at him. Look at what a beautiful face. All right.
Rubbing Justin's face was just disrespectful, but he couldn't resist touching the boy. Bieber awkwardly tries to go along with the joke, but James makes it even worse.
Voted to just do it. Don't mess around. Don't tease me, Bieber.
People couldn't keep their hands off Justin, including Katy Perry, who had to get herself a handful as she mouths to the camera, "Sorry, Selena." At the end of this interaction, Justin says, "We can do that forever if you want," which made some people think that he was okay with this behavior. Even David Letterman put his hands on Justin. During the 2012 interview, David insisted on denouncing Justin's tattoos.
Is that a new tattoo?
This is a new tattoo.
Oh God, how many do you have?
I have a couple, just a couple.
Well, tell me that's the last one.
It might be.
No, it is. You don't, I mean, honestly.
David decided to treat Justin like his son's troubled friend looking for guidance, even though it was never asked for. Funny thing is, Justin ended up doing exactly what David told him not to do. But Letterman took it too far when he put his hands on Justin.
You know, I got believe.
Get that off of there.
Hey.
Although this one wasn't explicit in nature, it was still totally uncalled for.
When you think about it, this is all being done so publicly, and because Justin Bieber was a public figure, everyone felt like it was just okay. I mean, when you think about treating someone like a piece of meat, that is exactly how he was treated by the industry as he was growing up.
David would later apologize for his behavior, but it's odd to see how many people were so willing to put their hands on the boy. Luckily, he was able to prevent Leah Remini from getting her hands on him during this interview on The Talk.
Your face. No, I will. No.
Justin had to shout no 5 times before she would stop, but that's not all. Earlier in this segment, she was forcing him to answer a really strange would you rather question.
Would you rather have to be naked on stage during one full song, or drink a cup of blended worms? Answer, Justin Bieber.
For no reason at all, Leah insisted on pushing this very sexual question, while there are little girls and boys directly behind her in the audience.
Yeah, it is very strange. It seems like a college drinking game that'll be going on where you're all just kind of, asking these stupid questions. Not something that you do on television, especially with children there.
Justin realized he was trapped, because no matter what he tried to say, she was trying to force the answer she wanted out of him, but he stood his ground and chose to not give in to her manipulation. This wasn't the first time Justin stood his ground when a host got sexual with him. While doing a radio show called Mojo in the Morning, the host, Shannon Murphy, brought the conversation in a strange direction.
Has your mom given you the sex talk yet?
I mean, like, I really don't want to have that conversation with my mother.
Yeah.
Like, I've kind of had it with my father.
You want to hear? Oh, really?
A
See, my
little bit.
parents never gave me the sex talk.
Okay.
So why don't you give me the sex talk?
I feel uncomfortable right now.
Oh.
Why do you want to know the sex talk from a 15-year-old boy?
Isn't that crazy? This adult woman is asking for the talk from a 15-year-old boy. Yes, he's famous. Yes, the world knows him, but he's still a 15-year-old boy, and that is strange. And as you're about to see, all he wants to do is talk about his album.
It's pretty weird.
He very clearly stated that he was uncomfortable when the host brought up sex, but the circumstances that built up to this are a bit confusing, because earlier in the conversation, this happened.
Justin, what are you going to be doing after the show tonight?
I thought I was picking you up.
Now, when I was 15 years old, I probably would have said some dumb stuff like that to an older girl, but apparently Justin couldn't keep his hands to himself.
That little kid is like a walking set of hormones. He is.
Wow, got a little too touchy-feely with you?
He wasn't just like patting my butt, he was grabbing my butt and he kept saying, "Is it inappropriate? Is this inappropriate?"
Oh my God.
And he
How
would grab
old
it
is it?
harder and go, "Is it inappropriate now? Is it inappropriate now?"
I mean, when you think about it, and you think about the things that were done to him by Diddy, evil Hollywood, possibly people relating to Epstein, these were the role models that he was having in the industry, because this is the things that were being done to him. So naturally, as a young boy that's growing into a young man, he's going to start to believe that these are normal behaviors. And he's literally asking her, is this okay? Is this okay? Now, maybe he's like, a very excited young man as well. Of course, there's that. There's puberty and all of these things that go on. But he clearly doesn't know exactly what's acceptable and what's not, because those lines are very blurred in his space.
Oh my gosh, he's kissing me. Here, come sit here. Come sit by me right here. Dude, Justin Bieber just like comes up and you just started making out with me, you know that?
Is that not appropriate?
Justin was obviously flirting with Shannon in a juvenile way. Then she said live on air how Justin was touching and kissing her. We can imagine there were definitely some instances where Justin felt like he could probably touch whoever and whatever he wanted, since, well, it was often done to him. But regardless, the 26-year-old shouldn't have brought up this conversation on the air. Even men were infatuated with young Bieber. L.A. Reid, music executive who signed Justin to his first major record deal, said, "This kid was beautiful. Like a woman can be beautiful, and men rarely are."
I actually broke this down. I did a video regarding Usher and how Usher brought Justin Bieber into the industry and literally went into L.A. Reid's office with Justin Bieber as a gift. Now, it's easy for us to all say that Diddy was this monster, because of course he was, and he's serving some time for it. But people like L.A. Reid were at the top of this industry as well, and very different terms, most likely. I don't know. I wasn't there, but things were very, very strange. And having Usher, a growing star, now up to an upper teen, bringing in a 13 or 14-year-old boy as a gift to a producer, saying that this is going to be the next protege, one that you can mold in any way you want, is just disgusting.
And he turned it on as soon as he stepped into the room. He recalls how Bieber had grown his hair down, almost covering his eyes, and says he could see immediately that Justin's hair would be every bit as important as his songs, his voice, his face, or his presence. Justin was simply beautiful, he gushes. His superpower was his face. The context of this article makes it seem like L.A. Reid was attracted to the young Bieber, but we don't really know that for sure. He was definitely right about his star power, but how he came to that conclusion just seems a little odd. However, the most deplorable assault was by Jenny McCarthy at the 40th Annual American Music Awards.
Wow!
We've all seen this.
I feel violated right now.
A shocked Justin Bieber couldn't say anything but the truth. "I feel violated right now." By this point, this was all too common for him. The craziest part is that Jenny straight up admitted to her crimes.
I took the opportunity in the window, considering I'll never get to do it again, and kind of busted him.
That's absolutely insane. If anyone in the normal world were to go and admit that they did something like this to someone that was underage, they would have to go to trial for that. Yet it can be done on television by a superstar to a superstar, and it's laughed at as a joke.
It'd be like cougar rape.
Jenny clearly enjoys the predatory behavior, as she described it as exploitation and R-word. She thinks it's cute and quirky and even bragged about it on Twitter after. Now, if this all happened while the cameras were on, could you imagine what happened while the cameras were off?
Right.
Just like many child stars, Justin turned to drugs. Every teenager experiments, but he was trying to cope and escape, which led to behavior that left a permanent stain on his reputation. For all the people that hated Justin, he was about to give them a stronger reason. And for all the people with unrealistic expectations, they were about to be crushed. His first controversy began in 2013 when TMZ leaked photos of him holding what appeared to be a blunt. Although Justin faced no charges for the incident, this was our first clue that Bieber was beginning to shed his wholesome image. Things took a turn for the worse later that same year. While on the European leg of his Believe tour, Justin stopped in England just in time for his 19th birthday. Later that day, Bieber tweeted, "Big night ahead," anticipating his birthday celebration. He and his entourage had planned a $8,000 birthday bash, booking tables at the Cirque des Soirs club in Soho. Unfortunately, the celebration didn't meet expectations after members of Justin's entourage were denied entry into the club because a few of the members of Bieber's party were under the suitable age of 18. Justin tweeted, "Worst birthday," complimented with a message to his Instagram account, voicing his side of the story. I love how the club wanted to give the press another reason why we didn't stay at their weak-ass club, so they wouldn't look bad for me walking in and right back out. People thought Justin felt entitled to come into another country and break the rules because he is a star. From there, he allegedly showed up 2 hours late for his debut show at the O2 Arena after throwing a massive tantrum. Several backstage sources claim Bieber was in a bad mood after waking up late because of a night out and proceeded to lock himself in his dressing room to play computer games. The crowd reportedly began booing at about 9:30 p.m., almost an hour before Justin ultimately hit the stage. If the week couldn't get any worse, Justin lashed out at a photographer outside his London hotel after the man called him a f***ing little moron.
What'd you say? You heard what I said, man. What'd you say? You heard what I beat the f*** out of you. Lose your f***ing who you are. Lose your f***ing balance. Who you are.
One thing I will say is he doesn't come across as a very tough person. Justin Bieber's not going to go and beat up anybody, but I do understand where the frustration can come in. As any superstar, having to deal with paparazzi on a regular basis can be, let's just say, I'm happy I'm a YouTuber and not a superstar, so I don't have to deal with that.
The photographer tries to get a rise out of Justin, then Justin responds with threats, then the photographer gets really mad at Justin for getting mad at him, and the guy also taking a video of the situation gets upset when someone starts filming him. It's ridiculous. He responded on Twitter by saying he had a rough morning and that he let his emotions get the best of him. But this incident started his lifelong beef with the paparazzi. In June of 2013, Justin and his entourage were involved in an altercation with a photographer outside the Hit Factory studio in Miami. The entire exchange was caught on tape. Later that same day, Justin was skateboarding outside the Hit Factory when another photographer began snapping photos of him. Bieber's bodyguards allegedly rushed the photographer, and one started choking him. The photographer claimed that he grabbed his camera and removed the memory cards. It seemed like every few months there was another controversy, just slowly chipping away at his reputation. Like when he peed in a cleaning bucket while partying. Justin and his friends left a nightclub through the restaurant's back entrance before stopping to relieve himself in the kitchen, more specifically in the bucket that is filled with water to clean the floors. This is just another inconsiderate teenager doing what a million others have done before.
That's exactly how I was going to phrase that. This is something that a lot of teenagers do. It's stupid, it's gross, but the reason that Justin Bieber's being called out for it is, one, because it's on camera, and two, because it's Justin Bieber. And for him, it's going to make it look like it's this massive thing. And although it's wrong, and although it's gross, and although he shouldn't be doing it, it's not something that is mind-blowing, out of this world, different than what other kids his age are probably doing as well. That just goes under the radar, of course, for obvious reasons.
Justin should know better. Then while passing through China during the Asia leg of his Believe tour, a picture was posted of him being carried up the stairs, which caused people on the internet to label him as a diva. His controversies were definitely minor in the beginning. He was being heavily criticized, attacked in blogs and by TMZ for the situations that were pretty small, but the controversies just never stopped. The coverage got more detailed, and the reactions just got worse, including the time he caused an entire revolution in Colombia. In November 2013, Justin was undergoing the Latin American section of his Believe tour. While in Bogota, Colombia, Justin snuck out of his hotel to do graffiti in an area where graffiti is banned. He painted a marijuana leaf and the Canadian flag while the police provided him with security. We aren't sure why the police decided to protect him, and the locals were outraged, because 2 years prior, a police officer shot and killed an unarmed 16-year-old kid while he was spraying graffiti in an area similar to the one where Justin did his. Rebellion against law enforcement broke out because if Justin Bieber can spray graffiti, so can they. And if the police protected Justin, they should defend graffiti artists instead of harassing and incarcerating them. 300 artists came together and occupied the area where Justin sprayed his graffiti, and over 24 hours painted more than 700 pieces of graffiti. Justin Bieber was the cause for all of this to happen. The poor dude had no idea what he sparked, said one of the young graffiti artists. The rebellious graffiti trend spread like wildfire to other major cities across Colombia, with hundreds of other artists joining the movement. He also had a spitting problem, with multiple reports over the years of him spitting on people during violent outbursts, including his own fans, who were visiting him outside of his hotel in Toronto where he spat down on them, breaking out into laughter with his buddies. In 2014, he spat in his neighbor's face after a heated argument, which started by Justin driving his Ferrari at over 100 miles per hour down the road. When his neighbor confronted him at the front doorstep, Justin told him to get the F out of here, before spitting in Jeff's face and saying, "I'm gonna effing kill you." A year later, he had another altercation with the same neighbor, which resulted in Justin throwing 24 eggs at his neighbor's house.
Hey, you asshole! I got another one for you, actually. Yeah, come right over here, you motherfucker. Call the cops.
Wow.
Months later, Justin pleaded no contest to 1 count of misdemeanor vandalism for the incident. In exchange for the plea, he was ordered to pay $80,000 in restitution and to stay away from his former neighbor and the neighbor's family for 2 years.
I do have to say, the things that he's choosing to do are not wise. He's doing small crimes, but ones that he should definitely have to pay a price for. Now, he did have to pay $80,000 in restitutions for that, but that really is just a slap on the wrist for what he's doing, and it wasn't teaching him what was right and wrong. Again, he's being protected because of who he is. Now, we need to remember that a lot of the behavior that we're seeing here is, 1, because he's a young rebellious teen, and 2, because he had an awful upbringing throughout the evil elite part of Hollywood. Those 2 things combined are a recipe for a lot of problems, which is why Justin got himself into the drug issues and why he started doing stupid things like we're seeing happen right here. I'm definitely not making excuses for him. He made dumb decisions, and he would probably admit it himself that he shouldn't have done those things. But there is reason behind the things that are happening.
At this point, Justin kind of proved he was a privileged boy with an attitude problem, but this last controversy would send him spiraling down. In June of 2014, a video emerged of the 15-year-old Justin telling racist jokes about black people, using the N-word multiple times. As the video went viral, Justin issued an apology, stating, "I thought it was okay to repeat hurtful words and jokes, but I didn't realize at the time that it wasn't funny and that, in fact, my actions were continuing the ignorance." Some people gave him the benefit of the doubt, that he was young and dumb, but then a second video showing a 15-year-old Justin circulated. Similar to the first, he sang his own song, "One Less Lonely Girl," replacing the lyrics with "One Less Lonely" and using the hard R, stating that if he were to kill one, he would be part of the KKK. He apologized again a day later and was released, stating, "Facing my mistakes from years ago has been one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with, but I feel I need to take responsibility for those mistakes and not let them linger. At the end of the day, I just need to step up and own what I did. Once again, I'm sorry for all of those I've let down and offended." I don't think I really need to explain why people were absolutely outraged with this. And for a lot of people, once they saw these videos, their mind was made up about Justin Bieber, and they're never going to change their mind. And I can't blame them for that. Justin dragged his reputation to an all-time low. He was stamped as just another child star gone mad. After a drunk driving incident in Miami, he was never the same. Justin was seen at SET nightclub in Miami Beach, Florida. He left the venue driving a yellow Lamborghini before police spotted him in a residential neighborhood. Bieber's entourage allegedly blocked the street so he could drag race singer Khalil, who was driving a red Ferrari. Authorities initially conducted a traffic stop for drag racing, but arrested Justin once they realized he was intoxicated. He was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence, driving with an over 6-month expired license, and resisting arrest without violence. Justin was later released from these charges on a $2,500 bond. A toxicology report revealed that Bieber had THC and Xanax in his system at the time of his arrest. Following Bieber's arrest on the DUI charge, more than 270,000 people petitioned the White House seeking to have him deported from the United States.
Wow.
Although the number of signatures received was sufficient to require a response under published White House guidelines, the Obama administration didn't take the petition seriously.
Now, as you can see, at this point in time, society was pretty anti-Bieber. That is an insane 270,000 signatures to send him back to Canada, because remember, he is originally from Canada. Things definitely do sway, because as we get towards the end of this video, and I'm going to bring up a discussion there, the community, the people now, knowing what we know today, have given him a little bit more grace and actually embraced some of his latest performances.
But it turns out behind the scenes, Justin had a much worse drug problem than people realized.
There was a time where I was sipping lean, I was popping pills, I was doing Molly, you know, shrooms, everything. And it was just an escape for me. I was just young.
Justin's drug abuse got so bad, he was even caught in the most dangerous areas of Los Angeles buying drugs.
Good, homie. MS gang. Nice seeing you, bro. Have a good one. I just saw Bieber. I just seen Bieber. Leave it to Bieber. That's crazy.
His addiction got so bad, he was willing to put his own life at risk. Justin says his substance use was normal in the beginning, but gradually became a problem to escape from the pressure of being this pop star. And although many people look at that as suffering from success, the level of expectation he needs to meet is unattainable. Surely a lot of his controversies were deplorable, but the ones that were minor were treated just as bad. That likely led to him giving up on his health, his body, and lashing out since they were going to criticize him anyways. He couldn't go out on a bad note though. So he made one last push after teaming up with Skrillex to produce a number of different sounds. Where Are You Now? Then What Do You Mean? Which was his first #1 hit single. Sorry, which kind of doubled as his apology to the world for his behavior. Love Yourself. And plenty of other radio hits to help him release his most successful album of all time, Purpose. It's hard for his opposition to feel bad for him when in the end, all of his antics will just help him sell more records. No matter what he does, it will be seen as the wrong step. It's quite literally is the child star curse, because nothing you do will ever compare to how you were introduced to the world as a perfect, innocent child. And with that, he finally stepped out of the spotlight, and when he returned, you could see how bad things really got. First of all, his music got worse. Yummy was terrible. But more importantly, in the press runs that led up to this, you can see Justin physically suffering. His anxiety was so bad to the point where he was constantly fidgeting, slumping over, not looking at people.
What that does to a person's brain at such a young age or any age, when you're surrounded by that kind of noise and excitement for so long. I mean, did you realize that was, I mean, looking back on it, what it was doing to you?
Wow, that actually, you could tell in that instance right there, he was extremely uncomfortable. Maybe it's because he was with Ellen, which we know there's a lot of implications there as well. Or maybe it's just he just didn't want to be in the public eye anymore.
Perhaps the most profound moment was during his Zane Lowe interview when he asked Justin about Billie Eilish, since Billie in 2020 was the 18-year-old pop star who was thrown into the industry very similar to Bieber. Justin felt like he wanted to protect her.
Yeah, so, yeah. I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, you know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
What's going on right there is he was thrown into the industry by Usher to Diddy and to L.A. Reid and had to endure years of abuse. And what I believe was happening here is he was seeing Eilish having to deal with the same type of stuff, and this upset him. He wants to protect her.
Just the mere thought of Billie enduring what Justin had to endure brought him to tears, and recalling those dark moments in his life made fans realize that this was not fake. This young man was likely abused by this industry. Justin's antics have slowed down considerably. He is 29, has a child and a wife he's fully focused on. Does he still have an entitled pop star attitude at times? Absolutely. Does he still have beef with the paparazzi? You bet. Some of you will never see Bieber as anything but a privileged boy who didn't have to put in much hard work to see the heights of the music industry. But even the benefits of his success, being universally loved, being praised, and constantly receiving validation, are also bad. Variety magazine dubbed him a once-in-a-generation superstar who charted a swift and stunning rise from precocious YouTube talent to global phenomenon. How the heck do you live up to that? Bieber was being cheered and rewarded for a smile and a hair flip. The world put him on this unsustainable pedestal, which ultimately caused him to break.
And as we know now, It is factual that he was taken advantage of by Hollywood. This is no longer a secret. And now we understand, have a better bird's eye view as to the things that happened to him. And it seems, based off of his latest performance, that he is being embraced by community. Because the latest awards show, while he performed, stripped down, in just his shorts, just him, a guitar and a microphone, he had a standing ovation from the moment that he started. And it seems like Bieber is on his comeback. And maybe on that comeback, he'll be taking down some of the people that took advantage of him on his journey.